Shalom from Jerusalem. We are in it's a day of mixed emotions. The ceasefire was just signed between Israel and the terrorist group Hamas. Why is it mixed emotions? Because on one hand, we're happy. I'm happy that many people will see their loved ones that were kept in Hamas for 466 days. They will be free. They'll be able to see their daughter, their son, their husband, their father, their children. They'll be free, and thank God they're coming home. But at the same time, I'm thinking of all the soldiers that were killed during all this time. It might seem in vain. And also at the same time, the amount of terrorists that Israel are freeing. Some have life sentences because they've murdered innocent people. They will be roaming around free either in Gaza, or it says wherever they want to go, which is crazy because the Gazans in Gaza can't leave Gaza, but these terrorists are being freed from Israeli prisons. They can choose to go back to Gaza or wherever they want to go. And I remind you that some time ago, Shalit, there was an Israeli soldier kept captive by Hamas for almost 5 years, and Israel released almost more than 1,000 terrorists for one of our soldiers, which is amazing. But at the same time, that's 1,000 terrorists that were freed. And 40% of those terrorists went back to terrorism, and the terrorist that designed October 7th was Sinwar. He was one of the terrorists that was freed that day. I have an article here by Stand With Israel, and it explains in details, and I'm going to read it. It says, Phase 1, release of 33 hostages held in Gaza, dead and alive, based on the list Israel provided, including female IDF soldiers, children, women, elderly men above the age of 50, and men in the humanitarian category below the age of 50. Throughout the 42 days, there will be partial withdrawal of IDF troops from Gaza. Now, there is no guarantee that Hamas knows where all these hostages are. They were never able to provide a list, but we'll see. The IDF will allow Palestinian civilians to return to their homes in northern Gaza starting on day 22nd, but returning vehicles will be inspected. And the ones that will be doing the inspection of these vehicles returning to the northern part of Gaza are American soldiers. Meanwhile, the IDF will scale back its presence in the Philadelphia corridor and fully withdraw from the Netzarim corridor. 600 trucks of humanitarian aid, will enter Gaza. Okay, so I gotta explain that. So Israel didn't want to withdraw from the Philadelphia corridor because that's the border between Egypt and Gaza, and that's where the Hamas was able to keep supplying their weapons and their rockets through the Philadelphia corridor, through that border, and Egypt was not preventing that from happening. So IDF will scale back its presence from this area, and then they will fully withdraw from the Netzarim corridor. The Netzarim corridor is a road that divides east and west of Gaza, and that was a way to kind of like see what's going on, monitor what's going on inside Gaza, so that they would avoid from having terrorists from rearming themselves. And, so this was going to be able to help them monitor Gaza once the war would end. But according to this, Israel is going to have to withdraw from this corridor. And then 600 trucks of humanitarian aid will enter Gaza. 600 trucks. I don't know if I have to remind you, but most of these trucks will end up in the hands of the Hamas terrorists. They will take it, they will sell it for a ridiculous amount of money, and that's how they've been able to keep alive. And I don't understand this crazy insistence from the U.S. president, first Joe Biden, and I guess now with the pressure from Trump, they're going to release more humanitarian aid trucks, which the terrorist group steals, and it doesn't go to the people that need it. But there is no genocide, there's no hunger in Gaza, I'm sorry. But that's another topic. So let's continue. On the first day of the agreement, 3 hostages are scheduled to be released. On the 7th day, 4 hostages are scheduled to be released. On the 14th day, 3 hostages are scheduled to be released with priority given to women. On the 21st day, 3 hostages are scheduled to be released. On the 28th day, 3 hostages are scheduled to be released. On the 35th day, 3 hostages. And during the final week, the remaining 14 hostages are scheduled to be released. On day 16th, negotiations will begin regarding stage 2, phase 2. So, in exchange, Israel will release approximately 1,000 Palestinian prisoners, terrorists, murderers who are serving life sentences. Terrorists with blood on their hands will be released to Gaza, Turkey, or Qatar. They choose where they want to go. But it's in a total, I've already checked, a total of 1,300 Palestinian murderers will be released. 240, I have the figure here, 250 convicted murderers will be released from our prisons here in Israel, and it'll be a total of 1,300 Palestinian terrorists that will be released. In other words, for each civilian Israeli releases 30 terrorists. For each kidnapped female soldier, 50 terrorists will be released. It's a big price to pay. So, with the withdrawal from the northern part of Gaza, the Gazans will be allowed to go back to the northern part of the Strip, and so they'll be able to travel without any problem, move around Gaza without any problem. And they'll be able to seek help if they need help. And this is really in favor of the terrorists. But let's see. Phase 2, the release of all remaining living hostages in exchange for permanent ceasefire. The IDF will not fully withdraw troops from Gaza until the last remaining hostage is released. However, given Hamas's history of violating agreements and undermining past ceasefire, we remain vigilant and cautious. While we hope for the release of all 98 hostages, we continue to monitor the situation closely. So there is no guarantee that Israel will get back all its 98 hostages, and there is a belief from many that the ceasefire will be broken before phase 2 starts. And that is a hope for many of us, because with this deal, Hamas remains alive in Gaza, and that's not what the goal is. Um, the goal is to completely eliminate the terrorist group Hamas and find a better solution for this area. So let's keep praying for this situation. Like I said, it's a tough deal for Israel, and it favors the Arabs in Gaza quite a bit. And in fact, I'll tell you, one of the Hamas leaders, Khalil al-Khiyya, the Battle of Al-Aqsa, Jerusalem, that's how they call Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa, was an important turning point in our nation's history. And what happened on October 7th was a military and security achievement that will remain a source of pride for our people and will be transmitted from generation to generation. That's how they see this ceasefire agreement. Please continue praying for Israel. Please continue to pray for the hostages, the families, our soldiers that are in Gaza, in Lebanon, the wisdom that our leaders of this country need, and safety for everyone over here. And pray for the countries that have gone against Israel as well. God bless. Shalom, shalom.